realized how quickly a place can get dirty. 9 p.m. rolled around, and I was...
Excuse me, did you just hear that? That was the wrong button. Did you hear that? I don't know how dirty a house can be, because, you know, my girlfriend used to do all of that. Bro, you gotta be single for life, okay? Single for life.
Come in and get scared together on this episode of The Crime and the Creepy.
Hi. That's a bit awkward. Hi, everyone! I know. It's because I don't hear the daily check-in. Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. We're back. I'm bringing the crime and the creepy back. How's your weekend, everyone? Oh god, I'm already freaking out. You saw that? No one saw that. I think I already saw a ghost. Whoa. Unos segundos. I missed you guys. I totally didn't just screw this up. There we go. Time for some ghost busting. Let's go. Wait, isn't that ghost hunting? I guess we can bust some nuts as well. Yeah, I'm excited. It's been a while since we did this. I'm honest. We need some more editing for the YouTube as well. Ghosts is busting on that. A lot of them are, especially the gravity ghost. Those are horrendous. You're doing great. Thanks for asking. Always. Flano, you need help? Why? What can I do for you? Are you feeling better, by the way? Are you still sick? Boston makes me feel good. Da 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 da. Let's bust a nut together. La 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 la. You know the Ghostbusters song? How do I not? That's how would I not know that? I'm that old. Busting makes us feel good. Da 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 da. Busting for 96 streams. Oh, that's big bust, my friend. That's some big busting going on right there. Oh my god, amazing. We're starting off the crime and the creepy today with some creepy and probably some crime as well. But you know, it's obviously, if you look out in the window, it is obviously very, very wintry. That's why we're starting with 3 scary true horror Christmas stories, because it's just the right time for it. I totally didn't screw that up or anything. Awesome. I'm excited. It's Christmas time, guys. It's Christmas time. It's Christmas time. And the crime and the creepy. Let's go.
When I was newly single after my 2-year relationship ended, I was back to live.
Oh my god, newly single. This is already a catastrophic horror movie.
Living alone again. I'm back to swiping on Tinder and all those apps.
Tinder.
I had been single for a few months already, and I had met a few people in that time. During that time, I matched a girl on Tinder named Tracy, and she gave me her Snapchat, but it quickly fizzled out to her just watching my stories and not really communicating.
Aww.
That kind of used to happen all the time when I was in college. But now being in my late 20s, using Tinder, and just being reminded of how immature all this online dating stuff is, it feels a lot different at this age.
Oi!
I own a corner townhome in a little community.
That's a lie. Nobody's
You're
named
wondering
Tracy.
what I do. I'm an accountant. Good money, but miserably boring. After my ex moved out, I thought I would be ready for the privacy and peace and quiet. But I'd say after the first month, the novelty of that wore off. Maybe I'm more of a relationship person, or I just need people around, but being alone was getting to me. That's why I was constantly swiping on dating apps and trying to go on dates, just to get out of the house. This was last December. I posted something on my Snap story that had to do with Christmas, and guess who commented on my story?
Tracy!
That Tracy girl who I hadn't spoken to in weeks.
I knew it.
She struck
I'm
up
a
a
crime
conversation
detective.
about us doing some Christmas-themed stuff together, and from there we started chatting for a bit. I suggested the most festive things I could think of. Ice skating, going to the village, and looking at the decorations, but she suggested we decorate my Christmas tree. Firstly, I did have a fake tree, but it was up in the attic.
She wants to
So
get
I
into
told
the
her I
house,
didn't have it
guys.
up yet because it's kind of a two-person job getting it out of the attic. She said she'd gladly come over and help. So I figured why not. I told her to come over around 9 that night.
I'm sorry, no girl from Tinder is gonna come around, go into your attic and help you get your motherfucking tree down. Who are you? Excuse me? You knew it, Tracy, but that wasn't her real name. Hi, Zero. Welcome in. Is this a ring type story? Swipe next on the cursed Tinder profile and the ghost will come through the phone in 1 week to have the smexy time? I wish. How scary is this going to be? That's a tough question. Some stories can be kind of scary, but some are usually just very, very fun.
It was already dark at that point when we made the plan. It was likely like 7:30 because I remember hurriedly grabbing my keys and rushing to drive to the liquor store to buy a couple bottles of wine.
The liquor
When I
store!
got back to the house, I vacuumed and swept the floors. Ever since my
Damn.
breakup, the things my girlfriend would do to clean the place were left to me, and I realized how quickly a place can get dirty. 9 p.m. rolled around, and I was
Excuse me, did you just hear that? That was the wrong button. Did you hear that? I don't know how dirty a house can be, because, you know, my girlfriend used to do all of that. Bro, you gotta be single for life, okay? Single for life! There you have it. I solved your problem. No need to Tinder anymore.
low-key sitting upright on the couch with the TV on, pretending like I was just chilling in the living room watching a movie already. Meanwhile, I had set everything up to be cozy and relaxing.
Yeah, no
And
wonder
I sat
she
there
left.
for a while, waiting on her to message me or for the doorbell. I sent a follow-up saying, "Let me know when you're on your way."
Sorry, I just noticed. Can you hear the background music? Dum da da dum, dum da da dum. It's not a Christmas song. Hi, Trippy. Yes, it's poopy time.
And I eventually
I would've
started to
loved
think
to,
she was
same.
flaking until finally around 9:30 when she said she's outside. She came inside and I was shocked to find that I was looking up at her. She was a couple inches taller than me. I'm 5'10",
she was
so she
taller.
had to be at least 6 feet tall. I also immediately picked up on the fact that she smelled like she was drenched in perfume. We went straight to the couch and
Okay.
sat down, and she sat really, really close to me, like our legs were touching.
She came inside
This
on the
is where I
first
started to
time.
get
Scandalous.
confused in how exactly I was feeling. She looked a bit older, maybe a little rougher. I'm not sure how to explain it. Underneath
Rougher?
that overpowering smell
Did he just describe his date as rougher? Like, dude, he wants to stay single.
of cheap-smelling perfume, I couldn't help but feel like there was a slight hint of body odor, which completely turned me off. I asked her if she wanted wine, and she said yes, please. So I went and
Ding,
poured a
fries
couple
are
glasses
done.
as we
Ding,
talked.
fries are done.
Have you ever met someone for the first time that you'd been texting or DMing for a while, and when you finally meet, they just end up being nothing like you pictured in your head?
Yeah, dude. And you know, this is why you don't bring them to your motherfucking home. You meet in a place, in a shopping mall, in a coffee, in a restaurant, so you can leave. You can, worst case, go through the bathroom door window. It's called being catfished, and it's really bad if you invite them to your home. Oh my god. I know this is the crime and the creepy, but this turns into like dating advice 101. How not to get catfished. By Goro Clan.
That was pretty much this. Something about her felt off, like she lacked certain social cues. I handed her a glass of Merlot, and we cheers each other.
Yeah, just get drunk.
You not. She almost immediately spilled a huge drop of red wine on my light blue couch.
Ah,
I composed myself, but I wanted to
really a light blue couch. This story ain't real. This is fake. Who the hell has a light blue couch?
scream. I said it's okay, as I ran to the kitchen to get a damp paper towel and sponge. I ran back to the couch and blotted
It
it as
wasn't
quickly as
okay.
I could before it would settle. She kept apologizing, and I kept saying it was okay. After this, it got a little more tense, and to break the tension, I suggested I get the tree out of the attic. So I went up to the attic, slid over the giant box with all the tree parts in it, and started handing her down the pieces one by one, each piece getting bigger until we got to the biggest part, the part that I wouldn't be able to handle going down the ladder on my own. She grabbed it with ease. I had to remember this girl's size. Once everything was handed down, I went back down and we assembled the tree in the living room with Christmas music playing. I poured her more wine and I drank more myself.
Please catfish
I
me,
loosened up a
Amazon
bit
woman.
more. Wine makes any situation feel better. Once
really
we had the
doesn't.
tree set up, next was the ornaments.
Alcohol's
I told
not
her
a
my ornaments
solution,
were all in the
people.
crawl space. These ornaments were all from my childhood. My parents gave me bins and bins of Christmas decorations. So I went down to the crawl space and one by one started taking out the bins while I left Tracy in the living room to relax. As I was doing all of this, I started feeling woozy. The wine was getting to my head.
Oh,
I've never
I thought
been
he
a
got
heavy
drugged.
drinker, so I do have a low tolerance, but I felt like I hadn't drank that much to feel this way. I grabbed the first bin and started lugging it up the stairs. By the time I got to the top, Tracy wasn't anywhere in sight. I assumed she was in the bathroom at first and called her name. I looked around each room and then saw that the bathroom was empty.
Tracy
I
secretly
scratched my head
Santa
in
Claus.
confusion as I kept calling her name. I went to message her on
She had to
Snap.
go.
She
Children are
never
waiting.
opened the Snap. I checked the 2 bedrooms too, but she was gone. I couldn't believe this. She
Tracy's
snuck
there.
out on me. This was when I started wondering if she thought
Tracy
I was
was never
ugly or
real.
weird or something, even though truthfully, I wasn't even really into her either. I crashed onto the couch, which suddenly felt a lot more comfortable than before. And honestly, as far as I remember, I periodically checked my phone to see if she opened my Snap and just watched whatever was on TV. Until my memory just faded to black. I swear, everything just went black.
How is the couch more comfy?
And then I woke up in darkness. No lights, no TV on. I looked around in the dark room,
Uh-oh.
and I knew I was hearing things. I felt like I was still on the couch, and I felt weak. My limbs were hard to move, but I managed to find my phone right under me within seconds, and I checked the time.
I'm
The
scared.
second the phone screen lit up, I
What's
saw it.
happening?
Even though the light was facing toward me, that glow from my phone screen with the brightness all the way up revealed the outline of a tall person's silhouette standing in front of me. For some reason, I didn't scream. I just put the phone down, bringing the room back to darkness.
Yes.
I finally opened my mouth to say, Tracy, hoping it was her, but still not in that moment remembering what had happened earlier. Whoever was standing there didn't answer me. I eventually picked my phone back up and turned on the flashlight.
I don't think he wanna
I saw
see,
that it was
yeah.
in fact Tracy standing in front of me. She wasn't moving. She was just looking down at me. I felt locked to the couch. I don't know if it was because of pure fear or the effects of whatever she had obviously laced me with. I genuinely was having a hard time moving my limbs. I felt weak and helpless. All I could manage to say was Tracy a couple more times. She turned towards the stairs, and again, I swear, she sprinted toward them, and all I heard were the disturbingly loud stomps of her running down the stairs. I heard something slam from downstairs. Looking back, I'd imagine it was the front door. Everything looked and sounded so wonky in those minutes after I woke up. Each passing minute, I felt more and more clear-headed, and moving became easier. I checked Snapchat to see that her account was gone, aka she blocked
Tall
me.
woman
I
disturbing.
looked out the front window and saw
Not
no
the
cars
tall
outside
woman.
besides my own and the neighbors. And then I realized I never saw the vehicle that she arrived in, or if she even arrived in one. I checked my entire home from top to bottom,
She
checking
flew
for anything
here.
that could have been stolen. The only items I found missing seemed kind of bizarre at first, but
Christmas
honestly
tree.
made so much sense soon after.
Does it?
Every last bottle of pills from my house was gone. All my vitamins and supplements, my bottles of Adderall, and even the bottle of Oxy that I had prescribed but never fully used after
So
a
it
surgery.
was just like
Those
drug
were in the drawer
people?
next to my bed. I noticed a bottle of vodka was taken from my mini fridge in my room too. But other than that, I didn't see anything else that could have been stolen. Still, I called the police right then and reported the robbery. I gave the Snapchat username and explained that I never got her number or knew anything really about her identity minus the name that she gave me, which was Tracy Gibson. The police knocked on my neighbor's door since all of our homes are attached, even though it was like
He
1
keeps
a.m.
vodka in a mini
With
fridge
me
in his
standing
room.
next to them, they questioned
Yeah.
if he'd seen or heard anything
Single
strange, to which he said
forever.
no, he'd been asleep. After about 20 minutes,
She threw out his
the police
expired
left.
meds and wants him to stop
I made
drinking.
sure all of my keys were still
She's
in
an
place so as to
angel.
make sure she couldn't get back in. But other than that, this Tracy person disappeared without a trace. I knew her behavior was quirky and wonky from the first few
Tracy without a trace, guys.
minutes of meeting her, and it makes so much sense now. I won't even call it a theory because I just know this is the truth. I think that girl, or woman I should say, was older than she claimed, and she was potentially homeless with a serious drug addiction. I think she drowned herself in perfume to mask the body odor that was honestly still showing through.
How did she afford
laced my wine
perfume?
with something when I was in the attic, clearly. I don't know exactly how long I was out, but it was enough for her to scour my entire home for any and all drugs and supplements. I still remember how disturbing of an image it was seeing her tall silhouette standing in front of me while I was just waking up on the couch. Honestly, after this, I didn't even decorate the tree that year.
Yeah, how is she homeless with Tinder and perfume exactly? I don't know, man. Tracy. Maybe she stole it from guys with lower standards. Ouch. 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 Okay. Interesting story. Big, tall, scary, homeless woman. Okay. This is why you lock your doors and why you don't invite people into your home that you met on Tinder.
This happened on Christmas Eve back in '97 when I was 7 years old.
7?
Since we're Jewish, we don't celebrate Christmas.
So
So
child.
Christmas Eve was just like any other
Be
night for
prepared.
us. Our dad is a doctor, and since he's Jewish, he always works on call at the hospital during the Christmas holidays. So he wasn't home tonight. That just left my little sister and I by ourselves for the evening while our dad worked. Technically, our mom was home, but to be blunt, she was an
Technically.
alcoholic.
Great.
Coaching now, actually, and I saw Tom walking from around my car. I told him about the hot water heater problem, and that Mike said they were sending someone to take a look at it.
What just happened? Hold on a minute. I think we have to rewind. I think... What? We're suddenly, like, far away. I don't know how we suddenly went from 7-year-old with an alcoholic mom to this. Uno momento. Hi, Costa. How you doing? Dad got kicked in the balls. I think he did. Wait. Oh God. What happened? What happened, guys? What happened? I think we just go back to here. There we go. Reset, start over. Nothing happened.
This happened on Christmas Eve back in '97 when I was 7 years old. Since we're Jewish,
Never
we
heard
don't
that
celebrate
before.
Christmas. So Christmas Eve was just like any other night for us. Our dad is a doctor, and since he's Jewish, he always works on call at the hospital during the Christmas holidays. So he wasn't home tonight. That just left my little sister and I by ourselves for the evening while our dad worked. Technically, our mom was home, but to be blunt, she was an alcoholic. Back then, being a 7-year-old, I had no idea what alcoholism was. All I knew was that my
lucky
mom
you.
was always passed out once it got dark and near impossible to wake up. Sorry if it sounds harsh or TMI, but it's relevant to my story. My sister and I were downstairs watching TV when we heard a knock at the door.
It's really
Being
sad,
the
man.
oldest, I went to see who it was. Our door had glass panes built into it, which made it easy to see who was on the other side. There was a man standing outside in a Santa suit holding a bag, and when he saw me, he smiled and waved at me to come to the door. I went near the door but did not open it, and I thought it was odd that someone dressed like Santa would come to our house out of anyone's house in the neighborhood. He said, "Hey kid, it's me Santa. Let me in, I'll give you your presents."
It's
I remember
Santa.
point blank telling him that Santa isn't real, and that if he was, he doesn't give Jews presents anyway. That's when he said, "Of course I'm real." In the past,
might have been
I
a
would
Jewish
used to visit
Santa, it's the
Christian
one that
homes,
takes
but
the
lately,
children.
I felt bad that Jewish kids never get any presents. So this year I changed the rules so that you can get presents too.
Ooh.
But I didn't buy it. And instead, I remember getting mad at him.
You would have
Jews
bought
get
it. You're
presents.
7.
We just get them during Hanukkah, not on Christmas. The
You
smile
would have
fell from his
bought it.
face, and all his jolly charm disappeared as he began demanding I open the door.
It's a
I
trap.
told my
It's not
sister
real
to dial
Santa.
911, and the guy seemed to run away.
Santa
I
would
did
never
call the
hurt you.
cops. However, unfortunately, the operator didn't understand what we were saying. Looking back, I think she may have thought we were just little kids excited that Santa Claus was coming to our house.
Lol.
Regardless, she didn't take us seriously and instead just told us that this number was to be used for emergencies only before disconnecting the call. My sister and I now got really
If he
scared
was
because
not
we didn't know
Jewish, he
who else
would
to
be
call.
dead.
Since we were only 4 and 7, the
Basically.
only numbers we knew how to dial were our home number and 911. And since this is the 90s, my dad didn't have a cell phone yet, and I had no idea what the hospital number was to reach him there. And with our mom impossible for us to wake up, we were essentially on our own. We hoped the man wouldn't come back, but a few minutes later, he was knocking on the door again. He said he knew the cops weren't coming and to go ahead and let him in or we'd be in big trouble. My sister started crying and ran upstairs trying to wake my mom. Not knowing what else to do, I did the one thing that made sense to my 7-year-old brain.
Not
I
open.
grabbed a bunch of candles we keep for our menorah and lit them all, then ran below where the smoke detector was. I blew out all the candles quickly before tossing them all up to the smoke detector. Thankfully, they gave off enough smoke to set off the smoke alarm. As an adult,
I didn't need that,
I realized
thank
how
you.
stupid this was, and fortunately, I did not accidentally set the house on fire. But at that time, all I knew is that the smoke alarm would instantly call 911 for me and send help to our home.
What
There was
it?
a fire department not even 2 minutes from our house. So
Wait.
they got here pretty fast.
Is that a thing in America? I need to know that because I assume that's America, right? We don't have that. Oh, like what? That seems made up. How would your smoke alarm be like? Huh? Our smoke alarm is just for our building. Like, bro, I did the only thing I knew how to do. Careful and completed a 5-step plan. I don't have that in private homes. That sounds made up. Yeah, right? Like, how would that be possible? Like, okay. But if you have, like, alarm thingies, especially when it's, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, Mr. Nightmare, not buying this. Not buying
My
this.
sister came downstairs, scared of the fire alarm, but I told her there was no fire and to not go outside, but instead wait inside with me. To my amazement, the guy still did not leave. Instead, the bastard ran to the firefighters, presumably telling them that he was glad they showed up. I remember that he claimed he was my dad, and that he dressed up like Santa Claus for Christmas Eve to surprise us. He explained that his suit didn't have any pockets to hold his keys, and that with the door locked, he couldn't get the door open to save us from the fire, so he begged the firefighters to break down the door, and surprisingly, the firefighters seemed to believe him. They were actually getting ready to break down the door and told us to stand back.
I don't
We
blame him,
started
just saying I
crying,
don't buy it.
shouting at them that he's not our dad, that our dad is working at the hospital, and that we have no idea who this guy was, and that we don't even celebrate Christmas. The firefighter who was about to break down the door thankfully stopped and listened to us. He asked, "You don't celebrate Christmas?"
Firefighter.
I told him no because we're Jewish, and showed him my kippah on my head as well as our menorah. I then broke down crying, explaining how I set off the smoke alarm to try and get help because the police wouldn't believe us, and to please not let the guy in. The firefighter thankfully believed me, and then asked the guy why Santa would show up to a Jewish home. I don't remember exactly what the guy said, but the firefighters clearly didn't believe him. 2 of them wrestled the guy to the ground while the other called the police to come by. They also asked what hospital my dad worked at so they could let him know what was going on. The police arrived and arrested the guy, while another officer stayed with us until my dad came home and explained the situation to him. My dad was furious with our mom for being wasted and essentially sleeping through the whole thing, but
That's why
mostly he was grateful
firefighters
that
are
we were
hot.
Okay. As far as Christmases go, I was glad to have our usual boring and quiet Christmas the following year. To this day, I think being Jewish saved my sister and I's lives, because had we opened that door to let Santa in, there's a good chance that would have been our final Christmas.
This is an anti-Christmas story. Anti-Santa.
It was December 2022. My girlfriend Charlotte and I were driving to the Pocono Mountains. We had rented a super cozy-looking Airbnb decked out with Christmas decorations, and it was nicely located with a nice view, big property, and not far from a cute little village. To make things even more festive feeling,
Goro?
there was a snowstorm coming that night, so we set out on the road a little earlier to allow us time to get groceries and everything set up in the Airbnb. From the city to the Poconos was about 4 hours.
I want to be in the
decent
Pokemon
time.
Mountains.
We stopped at a Family Dollar for some snacks and groceries, and then we went straight to the Airbnb. We turned towards the uphill gravel road through a clearing in the trees that led to the property. The house was surrounded by woods. It had a big deck with a hot tub on it, which was very appealing, especially the idea of sitting in it during a snowstorm. There were a bunch of Christmas decorations on the property, including some light-up reindeer, a big snowman, and big decorative candy canes lining the walkway to the front deck. We had to take a few trips to and from the car to bring everything inside. First impression, the place had a very comfy feeling as we expected from the pictures. It had a Christmas tree in one corner, stockings hung on the walls, and a bunch of smaller decorations scattered about.
Hey, Christian,
It had that very welcoming smell of wood that you'd expect in a country log cabin, though it was more so just a regular house. Then I realized why. There was a stack of logs next to a big fireplace in the living room. There were 3 bedrooms, though of course we only needed 1. We put our luggage and such in a second bedroom. I did the usual stuff like inspect the fridge,
I got
turn
so
on the
distracted
TV
by
to
the
see if there's
background
cable
music,
or
not gonna lie.
Netflix, and look out all the windows. There was an upstairs, but it was more of a loft with a pool table and a couple of couches. Then there was a basement. For the hell of it, I went down to check out the basement. It was fairly big relative to the size of the house.
A basement.
It felt disconnected from the Airbnb though. It wasn't furnished for hanging out in. It was dark and cold and felt more like a space to do laundry and a workspace. Then there was a knock at the front door. I hurried up to answer it, and there was a guy who looked to be in his late 40s. He was wearing gray sweatpants and a ripped-up yellowish-brown jacket. He smiled at me and said, "How are you folks doing?" I replied good and asked him if he was the Airbnb host.
Oh,
He replied he runs the place with his brother. I asked for his name, and he said Tom. Tom said he lives just up the road next door if my girl and I need anything.
Tom and Jerry.
I thanked him, and then he walked away. I found it interesting that he knew I was with my girlfriend. Charlotte didn't come to the door, but maybe his brother told him about us. I did have a conversation with Mike, the host, about it being my girlfriend and I wanting to do something festive. It was pitch black out and it was snowing. We cranked up the heat in the house and started preparing the dinner we bought, which was chicken thighs, broccoli, potatoes, and cornbread. It was pretty grab bag.
I feel like the
We ate on
TLDR of
the
these
couch
stories
with
is
the Christmas
Tinder
tree
is
lights on in
bad.
the corner, giving the room a nice comfy glow as we watched the Polar Express. It
I
was
mean,
the
I
only
hope
good
the
Christmas
7-year-old
movie
wasn't
any
on
of the
Tinder.
streaming platforms. If you
You
can't
think
tell,
you followed
we
the
really love
Santa dude on
Christmas.
Tinder?
After the movie, and when we felt we had digested enough, we went outside to the deck to hop in the hot tub.
I'm Jewish
Turned
and I
on
want
all
to
the
feel what
decorations and
Christmas
Christmas
like.
lights in the front
I'm
yard.
looking for a
And as we sat in the
Santa.
hot tub watching the snowfall, it felt like bliss until the bubbles on the hot tub stopped and it went silent. We heard unmistakable footsteps from somewhere on the property. Charlotte and I looked at one another. I asked
Excuse me. That looks kind of cozy as fuck. I want to have a jacuzzi in the winter. Like just sitting there with a little glass of wine, just enjoying everything. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't focus on the story. Footsteps. Bad.
asked her if I should shout who's there, but she said no. The footsteps moved further and further until they were no longer audible. I told Charlotte it was probably a deer, but deep down, I knew those were the footsteps of a person.
Footstep.
After the hot tub, we went to take a shower before
Chicken
bed. The
gosh
hot
damn
water in the
damn.
shower didn't last for more than maybe 2 minutes, though. Something was wrong. When the water turned ice cold, we screamed and jumped out of the shower. I messaged Mike, the host, about it. He responded within half an hour saying that's odd and that he'll have a guy come and look at the hot water heater tomorrow. We went to sleep after our half shower. In the middle of the night, though, we awoke to very aggressive bangs on the front door of the house.
Ooh.
Charlotte was shaking me, terrified. I said I'm gonna check who it is, but she demanded I stay in the bed and don't make a sound. Honestly, I was glad she said that. No part of me wanted to know who was at the door in the middle of the night. I think there were 3 sets of really loud and angry sounding bangs before they stopped. We sat upright for a few minutes in silence, whispering
Just a
to each
prank,
other.
bro.
I went over to lock the bedroom door for added security, I guess. Minutes dragged along, but ultimately, after about half an hour of sitting wide awake, we eventually drifted back off to sleep. First thing in the morning, I messaged Mike again about the knocks at the
After
door.
half an
He
hour?
answered more quickly this time, seeming pretty confused like us. He basically said how strange that is. He didn't
Yeah.
know why anyone would be roaming
I
around
could
late at night
never
like that.
sleep
He
if
said
something
if
like that
anything like that
happens.
happens again, that we should alert the authorities. Honestly, not the most reassuring response, but
Yeah.
I mean, he was right. What else could he tell us? Grab a gun and shoot whoever was at the door?
Yeah.
I didn't want to keep complaining to Mike constantly, but I mean, these were some valid concerns I was bringing up to him. There was a lot of snow outside, and it was a dark, cloudy day. There were still some flurries falling onto the ground.
Like, sorry.
I went out to wipe the snow off my Jeep, and while I was doing so, I noticed footsteps in the snow. They looped around the house. I remembered the knocks from the night before and wondered if it was from the same person, but these footprints looked fresh, and it snowed all night. Surely the footprints from last night would have filled in by now. I heard footsteps approaching now, actually, and I saw Tom walking from around my car. I told him about the hot water heater problem, and that Mike said they were sending someone to take a look at it. He said he knew and that he was here to take a look at it, actually. I also told him about the knocks at the door last night and the footprints in the snow. I even showed him. He looked at them and said there's a lot of strange folk out here that go snooping around at night. I asked if we should refrain from using the hot tub at night then, and he said no, that shouldn't be a problem. The people around here are harmless. He went inside into the house and walked around for a bit before walking down to the basement. He told me he'll have a look at the hot water heater. Tom seems like a weird dude, honestly. I messaged Mike saying Tom's here now checking out the water heater.
There's no
Mike
Tom.
replied back asking, is Tom the name of the plumber? And I replied, no, your brother. He replied, what do you mean? He said he's my brother?
Get out of the house.
To click in my head.
Get out of the house. Get
I
out of the
responded,
house.
do you have a brother named Tom who runs this Airbnb with you? And he replied, no, who is this person? I hurried to Charlotte and told her to collect her things quietly. We need to get out of here. As quickly as we could, we packed our bags, grabbed all of our stuff, and brought it outside to the car in one trip. I'm sure we left behind a charger or something small, but who cares? We got in my car, and when I started it, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw Tom quickly approaching the rear of the Jeep. I put it in drive and drove out of there as quickly as I could. When we were back on the road, we called Mike and explained everything and told him he needs to call the police now. He didn't stay on the line with us for long, but 20 minutes later, he called us back. We were in the car still. He said the police were there now and didn't see anyone in the house. Mike was on his way to the house as well, but he was mostly calling to get more details from us. We drove around the area and explored just as a way to calm our nerves after what just happened. After a few hours, we drove home. Mike messaged me later that night updating me and apologizing for everything. He said he didn't know anyone who resembled my description of Tom. What disturbs me is that man was watching us the entire time, from the moment we arrived to when we were in the hot tub, and he was probably the one banging on the front door in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Who knows what his intentions were? It's a good thing we left when we did, though.
Peeping Tom! Whoa, that was a scary one. That was a scary one. No thank you. No thank you. Whew! I don't know why I keep getting these kind of like stories that I really just like, you know, invasion, intruding, like these kind of stories. I really dislike them. But it's okay. It's okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you fine? That was a good one? Yeah, that was a scary one, not gonna lie. Mr. Nightmare, thank you very much.